Hello, gorgeous soul. The theme for this month is self-love, and in today's Chart Chat episode, it's all about the kinds of self-care practices that you can put into place to dig out of burnout. Can you relate? I know that cabin fever has settled in for many of my fellow Vermonters, and both of these things can really dim your light. So today's particular case is through the eyes of 1-3 emotional manifestor Karla Lyon, who is trying to balance running 2 businesses and homeschooling her young sacral manifesting generator. We're diving into some of the elements of her human design that shed light on how to create more peace and to help her start recovering from that burnout. If you are loving this podcast, remember to hit the follow button and share it with a friend. I'm your host, Lori Lisai, human design teacher and midlife coach, here to help you use human design to shed the shoulds and be who you came here to be. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Midlife by Design. Today we have a chart chat episode and we have Karla Lyon here with us, a fellow Vermonter and someone I met through one of my clients. So thank you so much for being here today with us, Karla, and for sharing your human design. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself first and then we'll dive in?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. So I am 31 years old. I have a 9-year-old son, and I own 2 businesses. One is bookkeeping, and that's 5 years old. And then I just started a network marketing business in June, and I am a manifestor, and I'm learning the more that I live that way, the happier I am. So diving deeper, and my mother actually is the one that steered me this way because we're trying to structure my business to suit us better because she's a generator and I'm a manifestor.
Love it. Love it. So I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so what is your question? What exactly do you want to dive into today?
I wanted to talk specifically about my chart with my rest and creative cycles because having 2 businesses and homeschooling my son, I feel like I always want to rest. I'm always tired. And then I just get in these moments where I want to eat, sleep, and breathe whatever I'm doing. And I feel like both ends of the spectrum, my life doesn't quite support that, if that makes sense. So I just want to walk away a little bit with clarity on that.
Yeah, okay. I love that you are already recognizing your cycles. And that's, I think, the place that I would love to start because any manifestor is going to have an undefined sacral. And the sacral center is battery power. It's the power that, lets generator types just chug and chug and chug and chug and chug and keep going, keep going. So as a non-sacral, you do not have that. But what's beautiful is that you do have the capacity when you're on and when that cycle switch is flipped on to, you could work probably 36 hours in, a day and a half if you're really into something. But the thing is, you have to match that or more with rest. You really need to give yourself and it's hard to quantify. I think this is something that in talking to manifestors is very individual, how much rest they need to recuperate to feel like they're ready to go back into another cycle. And the thing is, it's not a mental game. It's not like, oh, I have another project that I have to get done, so I'm going to launch into a new cycle. It's more tapping into your body and seeing like, how do I feel? And manifestors are designed to get something called urges, right? You've got this connection where ideas just drop right in and you feel this urge like that you have to take action on something. So that's the kind of energy that you're looking to move on and to match that with rest. So Would you say that that's a decent description of how a cycle looks when, like, does that describe it accurately for you when you're experiencing it?
Yes, it does. And as I've been playing around with it and also being a woman and having other types of cycles, I don't feel like I am doing a good job on either end. And I feel like because I'm trying to work through my rest, that my creative cycles aren't very good. So I'm like in this almost burnout feeling all the time. And yeah, just noticing that right now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the first thing that I would suggest that you do is start tracking to raise your awareness, because the only way we can really make changes is if we are aware of what's going on. So right now, you're aware that you're feeling burnt out. Okay. So that is a signal that something needs to change. Great. You know that. However, in order to make the right kinds of changes, I think you're going to benefit from having some kind of tool. There are trackers online that you could download, even just using the notes app in your phone or a calendar, and jotting down your energy levels, making like a little narrative note about your energy levels each day. And depending on how detailed you want to get, you can even break it down throughout the day. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Are you feeling like you got run over by a truck when your alarm goes off? You're like, oh my God, I can't, I just can't today. Or maybe you wake up and you're okay, but by the time you hit lunch, you feel that way. Or maybe you get all the way to dinner, or maybe it's, you're in a part of your menstrual cycle where you're feeling like you got a lot of energy and you could blow through and be up until 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're excited about the work that you're doing that day. So I would suggest keeping track as much as possible and do it for a couple of weeks. I'm going to give you a couple of other things to do in the immediate, but I think if you're doing it for a couple of weeks, you want enough data to be able to look over a period of time and say, okay, this is what's going on. If you could even get a month, that would be fantastic, because then that would give you a full menstrual cycle as well as a lunar cycle, all the things that your body may be picking up on.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
okay. Okay. The other thing that I'm looking at, so you are a manifestor and you have no sacral, but literally that is the only undefined center in your entire chart, which is, yeah, that's bananas. I mean, lots of people are eight-centered beings, but to be an eight-centered manifestor, that's pretty unusual in my experience anyway. And the thing about that is you don't have the sacral as your primary motor, which generators and manifesting generators do. 70% of the population has that. Only 9% of the population are manifestors. So you're really in a unique position. And it's important to remember that, because I say we kind of live in a generator world, because 70% of people are walking around with sacrals. And so anytime you're around a sacral, you're going to take on and amplify that energy. Like if you're in the same room with your mom, you're going to take on that sacral energy and make it even bigger, which is why when you walk away from it, you can feel even more exhausted. I've just taken all of that battery energy and made it 10 times bigger. 4 centers in human design that are called motor centers, and the sacral is one of them. The root is another, the emotional solar plexus is another, and the will or the heart center is another. So even though you're a manifestor and you don't have that sacral center, you still have 3 other motors that are pushing you to like get shit done. So that's great. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the will center here, because the will center is willpower. And it sounds to me like you may very well be working largely on willpower here. And The root center is the pressure to get things done. So it's like pushing the way your chart is connected, that energy is pushing on your emotions. So you've got lots of emotional energy that's being expended, and your will center is just kind of like chugging along and keeping things going, but it's leading you to burnout because you're not like resting enough.
That sounds
So,
pretty accurate.
okay. Okay. So I guess those are the mechanics behind why it's happening. But what do you do about it is the bigger question. So, one thing I'll say is it's great that you have your own business. Especially as a manifestor, you're here to initiate, you're here to start things. You are not here to finish things necessarily. And it's really going to depend, like, in order for you to finish something, it has to be a really strong urge. And you go through the creative cycle and finish it, and then you're moving on to something else. So, understanding that that's the way you work, I think it's really important to have other people to delegate things to in your business and or businesses. So, can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like right now for you?
Yeah. So you're very right about all of that. And I realized that I was thinking I was a bad person or not a good employee. And then as a business owner, like what's wrong with me? And then I started to figure it out. And like 3 years ago, got into human design. And so my mother coming into my business, I think we're going to be on 2 years now, has been a massive game changer for me because she compliments me so well.
Okay. Okay. And she's a generator type. So, do you have any others, or you're thinking about bringing somebody else on?
I have a few part-time bookkeepers that do some work, and I have 2 different virtual assistants that do little parts and pieces, if that makes sense. I've had a business manager, which was amazing, and last January, a week before I started homeschooling my son, like, we were transitioning. I don't know what happened, but she said, "I'm sorry, there's been a family emergency, I'm shutting my business down." And yeah, so, me and my mom have been running that piece, or things have just been on the wayside until hopefully we can build things up enough to get another business manager in here.
Okay. Okay. So, at this point, you're trying to kind of build the business up enough so it's generating enough income to be able to hire that next person.
Exactly.
Situation. Okay. Okay. So being able to hire another person is sort of on hold. So I think it's really important that you find a way to get the rest that you need, because if you don't, like, everything's just going to freaking crumble, you know? So when you're looking at the things that you want to spend time on, really think about how can you even build in like little periods of rest throughout the day? Maybe you have a meeting with a client, and then just take 15 minutes and close your eyes, or go actually just getting horizontal, even if you're not sleeping or you don't close your eyes or anything, but just like laying your body down is really beneficial for non-sacrals. Your digestion of food and information is indirect light, which basically means you take in information and you digest food better when it's dark. So, like, winter is kind of a good time for you. Would it be possible in your work to like sleep in a little bit and maybe homeschool your son and focus there, and then do some of your work at night? Does that resonate for you?
It does, yeah. I was doing my work in the morning and just my husband gets shut down on his roofing business, in the winter, so we have been sleeping in a little bit, which has been great. And I love that you're validating the kind of reset in the afternoon, because since I've been in college, I can lay down and go to sleep within 30 seconds and be up in 10 minutes, and, like, it's like somebody just hit the reset on their phone. It's crazy.
Ah. That's perfect. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And I would encourage you to do that like a few times a day, you know? Don't just think like I only get this one little manifestor nap. If you have the flexibility, if you're working from home and you have the flexibility to do that, absolutely do it and see if that starts to help a little bit. I wanted to mention one other thing, which is that you are what's called a quad right. Overall, what that means is you are designed very much for flow versus a rigid schedule. So I'm curious how that plays out in your world.
That's just so interesting that you say that because I have been the complete opposite the majority of my life, and I'm coming into more of a flow, and I'm coming into more of the creative sides of my business, and I'm loving it, but it's like so new.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, which is great. You're a 1-3, so you're here to experiment, throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks kind of thing. So this might be a place to start experimenting. Where can you bring in a little more flow? Where can you bring in a little more of the feminine kind of feel? You also have gate 5, which is about routines, which is in your north node. And so that to me says that this is something that's going to kind of unfold throughout your life in terms of finding the right routines that support you, that feel like they aren't pushing you to accomplish, but more are how do they support my need to flow and let me accomplish the things that I want to accomplish? How does that land?
Uh, Makes me a little excited, I guess.
Excellent. All right. That's great. I love it. So I think that overall, I would say putting those rest points in throughout every single day as much as possible. If you have 10 minutes, don't check your email. Go lay down, get horizontal. Even if it's bring in a little couch or something in your office so you can just lay down. You want it to be a space where you won't get interrupted. And then prioritizing the things that you have going on. So you're a manifestor, you're not a manifesting generator. You have lots of energy. Yes, like 8 out of 9 centers are functioning here, but you don't have that sacral to keep you going, 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 going. So I think prioritizing will be really helpful for you as well. And make the hard choices. Like you're probably going to want to hold on to a bunch of different things, but thinking about, okay, what are my priorities? What do I need to generate for my business? So you mentioned the network marketing thing, and you said you started that in June. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned in email something that you had just started that was like you were excited about. That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay. So if you could wave your magic wand and like spend your time anywhere, what would your ideal day look like?
It would look like 2 hours of homeschooling with my son, and then we get to go do some things, and, I would be having conversations in my network marketing in, like, the pockets of my time and taking some content, and my bookkeeping business would be running itself in the background, and I would be checking in and having meetings, like, on more of a monthly basis instead of, like, helping things run every day. That makes sense.
Beautiful. Okay. Love that. If you haven't already written that vision down for yourself, write it down. And remember that you are here to initiate as a manifestor, right? You're here to like light shit up, get the fire going, and then go start a new fire. So if the network marketing is exciting for you, then spending some time there. But also, the thing about network marketing, in my experience, is that it can, if you're not careful about how you're using your energy there, it can be a lot of energy expended. So just being really mindful about how you're approaching it. knowing that you are a manifestor. I mean, the beautiful thing about being a manifestor in network marketing is you can initiate conversations. It's okay for you to like send somebody a cold DM because you have that initiating energy. For a generator, it's not a great idea. So that said, you don't necessarily want to be firing off like 30 messages to people you don't know every single day, because I think that will lead to burnout. So you want to be smart about it and strategic. Like, how can I home in on where I want to spend my energy, knowing that I also need to really make time for rest. That is imperative. And then I think the more rested you feel, the better you're going to be able to show up for each thing that you want. So I think it's thinking about all of the things that you have on your plate and how can you start to move things around a little bit, maybe put some things on the back burner, maybe put some things on a separate plate. Also think about, like, from now, which we're recording this in at the very end of January, you've got, I'm assuming homeschooling will finish in June. Do you follow like a school year? Okay.
Yeah.
So knowing that you're following the calendar school year, that you'll be ending it in June. So thinking about, okay, what could I maybe put off until then, and then really dive in hard at some point in the summer if that's what you want to do, or just thinking about how you can chunk it around the givens, of your schedule already. Yeah, how does that land?
Good. It does. I did want to mention that my son is a mani-gen, so he
Mm.
has so much energy, and it's trying to embrace that and flow with what he's doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mani-gens, they're here to move fast. They've got a little bit of manifestor in them and a little bit of generator. So I think it's great that you know that about him. And when you need to rest, make sure he's not nearby.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to have that sacral, you don't want to be amplifying that sacral.
When you said put something in my office to rest, I was like, that is a really good idea.
Oh, good. Yeah. Because then I don't know if your office has a door, but you can just close the door, right? And
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Be in your own energy, because you already, like, there's so much. You have 8 centers defined. You already have so much going on. To have that sacral just be undefined and let it rest, it will be so soothing for you, I think. So yeah. All right. I'm going to stop sharing. I would love to hear you explain back to me, what are your big takeaways? What kind of shifts do you think you'll be focusing on?
When you started talking about prioritizing, I was looking at the fact on Fridays, I plan my next week. So I could have like a list of 3 priorities each day. So that going into the day, I know that I have those 3 things that have to get done. And then the rest, like it can flow. If I'm having a day, sometimes on like a Monday, I just get the whole week's worth of stuff done. And then other times that doesn't happen at all. So
Okay. I love that. I love that. Big 3 is I think, a great way to plan, and you're still making progress in everything that you want to, but yeah, you definitely need to, reset. It's time for a reset, it sounds like, and coming back into equilibrium. Yeah.
yeah, I have taken 2 naps, like 2 10-minute naps in the day before, and it starts to mess up my sleep cycle, but I think maybe I was looking at it in the fact that I need to sleep for 8, 9 hours, and instead, maybe I need to put my headphones in and get some work done in the nighttime when nobody's bothering me because I'm rested.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that indirect light, I think it's definitely worth experimenting with.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your chart and your experience with us.
Thank you.
Time is running out to book your spot for the Wild Women by Design retreat. If you are a perimeno maven fighting cabin fever, just imagine yourself right now in Costa Rica, in community with an amazing group of midlife mavens, exploring your wild side, restoring your body and soul, laughing, dancing, basking in a clay bath, being in sacred ceremony, and lavishing yourself in the kind of self-love that you deserve. Link is in the show notes, so choose the room that lights you up and join us for some online support before we meet in person. And if you loved this episode, know that a human design reading comes with every retreat booking. Also, give the pod a review so more women can find it. Thank you so much. And as always, I'm sending you the strength to let go of what no longer serves you, joy to fill your days, and the clarity to be who you came here to be.